Good evening, and welcome along to our Christmas special here on NVTV. We're here at number 2 at Royal Avenue, and behind these doors, apparently it's all dressed up like a winter wonderland, especially for our show this year. So who's coming up? You're just going to have to wait and find out. So the festivities continue down here at number 2 at Royal Avenue. I see Paul Martin standing by in the wings, which must mean we're going to have a festive quiz, a festive edition of WTF. Here we go.
Right, so now it is the time that everybody's been dreading in this Christmas haven, and everyone at home should play along, right?
Yes.
You know the deal, Robin.
Yes.
We're giving it across our precious baby from PM on Saturday at Belfast 24/7. I'm giving it to you. Sort of giving it to you. Right, okay, so here we go. Play along at home as well, right?
Yes.
Pick somebody you love, pick somebody you hate, or pick somebody you're indifferent to.
Right,
Doesn't matter to me, just play along at home. Trust me, this is a great quiz. Here's your first WTF of this Christmas special. Which one of these festival activities at Christmas is a real tradition? 2 real traditions, apparently, one of them is false. In the German town of Baden-Rechnen, there is a remote theatre where German locals gather every year for a tradition. It's like the pantomime, like your missus does, like you do.
Yes.
Except it's a bit different, it's Cinderella, okay?
Okay.
Except the German word for it, okay, you ready for this? Is Bablerella. Babler being German for boobs.
Right.
So the translation is Booberella. They have Booberella every year.
Okay.
It's part of a tradition of the local fabric.
Right.
Locals turn up to it. And the high point for many locals, and the low for some, is that during one of the songs, Booberella, Booberella dances with the ice fairies.
Right.
An actual part of the show. It's traditional and it happens every year. Is that the true fact? Booberella in Germany. Or is
Right,
this,
okay.
okay?
Yeah.
Or is this indeed the true fact?
Oh no, it isn't.
Well, he's getting in your head now, Robin.
Yeah.
Is this indeed the true fact? Okay. In Catalonia, Spain, locals don't get excited for Santa's little helpers to drop by. They wait for, in eager anticipation, Robin, eager anticipation for the infamous Christmas pooper. The infamous Christmas pooper. They in fact have 2. One is a trouserless peasant who is traditionally laid in next to baby Jesus in the manger. The second figurine comes out of the Christmas table during Christmas dinner, okay? And it's called Cagatio, translated as the pooping log. They lay it on the table at Christmas. Every Christmas, they have a pooping log. They have a pooping log and the other poopy monster thing.
Right.
Now have a think about this.
This is easy. The pooping thing, you've done the pooping thing before.
You want to go with the boob dancer?
The boob dancer.
Okay.
Boob dancing Cinderella is the one.
Out of interest, what would you have gone for, Chris? Booberella?
Yeah, why not?
Sounds like fun. The first answer for WTF on this Christmas special is, in fact, you are wrong.
No.
The pooping
No.
The pooping tradition, including the pooping log laid out at the Christmas table, is 100% true. You're 1-0 down. Chris, you've got a great chance to go ahead here. Okay, so your first WTF. Robin's on the rack. You've got this. I feel
He likes
it in you.
being on the rack.
Okay, so this one's good for you actually. It's about Christmas songs, okay? Which one of these is true? Last Christmas by Wham, obviously a hugely famous Christmas song, George Michael, right? But it was actually an accident. It should never have happened. It was originally written by George Michael as a summer song about losing his summer love. And it was meant to be last summer. That's your first one. Is that the correct fact? Or is it this? The famous Pogues, well, we love that one, right? Fairy Tale in New York. Brilliant song. But the boys of the NYPD were not singing because there has never been, in the history of the NYPD, a choir. They've never had a choir. When they filmed the video, they had to pay a load of cops to turn up for it. They turned up drunk and would only actually act in it and pretend that they were in the choir if they gave them more booze. So which of those facts is true? Last Christmas was actually last summer, Or there is no Boys of the NYPD Choir, or we've been singing it in vain all these years. Which one are you going to go for? Have a think about it.
I'm going to go for Last Summer.
Last summer, I gave you my heart.
Yeah.
But the very... doesn't have the same ring, does it?
No.
That's because it's wrong.
Yes!
And it's still 0-0.
I knew that.
It is wrong.
I knew that.
Consternation over here.
Look at that.
They're all playing in behind the scenes here. It's still 0-0, Robin.
Okay.
Or 0-0, as they say in
Give me
America.
the last one then. Come on, come
He's
on.
getting very impatient here. He wants this badly. We're going to talk about food now, that famous Christmas dinner. The greatest of traditions, right? Not everyone is having turkey this year.
No.
In 2 different countries, they have wild traditions that just beg a belief.
Right.
But one's true. In Japan,
Yes.
the traditional Christmas dinner that is more popular than anything is, is KFC. Or, you're going to love this one, okay? In Iceland, okay, Jenny and I are heading there in 2 weeks. Their equivalent of Christmas turkey is actually an evil elf. The Icelandics, who are obsessed with elves, as you probably know,
Yes.
right, okay, dress the turkey with little elf ears, right? So you can imagine that. Here I am, little kid's turkey, right?
Yeah.
Little elf ears before it's served up to the hungry victims, okay?
Yes.
So as part of the tradition, it can't be a turkey, it has to be an elf.
Okay.
Okay, and it's called the evil elfdong. So is it the evil elfdong, or is it the ridiculous alternative? Which one are you going for?
Well, I've heard your playlist recently, and you put that Ding Dong song on your playlist.
did play
so
Ding Dong.
You did play it, so I think that's where that came from. So the correct one, as crazy as it sounds, has to be the Japanese people going out for a bargain bucket. And
You're locked in. He's going with Colonel Sanders. We'll see if he's a chicken or not in a minute. The right answer for Robin's second WTF is... He's right.
yes!
He's right, and takes
Yes.
a 1-0 lead with 1 to go. Okay, hang in there, it could still be a draw. Do not give up. Do not give up, okay? Now this is quite sinister. In 2013, a group of boozed up teenagers became headline news when shortly before the Christmas parade in America, they use Christmas parades every day. It was about to begin when Santa's reindeers went missing. There's 3 reindeers meant to take part in the play,
Right.
okay, in the parade.
Yes.
Went missing. An hour later, parade's about 10 minutes before start now. Okay, an hour later, a group of teenagers, masks over their face, Santa masks, released a video on YouTube. It was with the reindeer that was meant to be Rudolph, and they were holding a massive knife and saying, if you don't give us a certain amount of money, this is in the newspapers and on the national news stations, if you don't give us a certain amount of money, within the next hour, Rudolph Santas are coming off. And there'll be no parade. Think of all the little 5-year-old kids lining up in wonderment, waiting for the parade. And they posted a hostage video of Rudolph live, made all the national news.
Right.
An hour later, they didn't pay them anything, and guess what happened? An hour after that, the antlers were being displayed for everybody to see in their horror. Rudolph, the massacre, Christmas Day, cruel. Did that actually happen, or is it a load of nonsense? Or is this true? In 2011, a little boy, Terry, from Iowa, got up because he thought he heard Santa. It wasn't Santa, it was a sinister-looking house invader, okay? He feared for his life, couldn't call for his mum because he was stunned into silence. The guy came over to him and says, don't say a word or the trouble's gonna go down. It's sounding evil, isn't it? But no, wait for it. The evil Santa, or bad Santa we'll call him, did the following after breaking into the little kid's house. He was watched on in stunned silence when the boy could barely believe his eyes. The spooky intruder proceeded to put on the Christmas music in front of the boy, light some candles, say some prayers, hang up decorations while his mum was in bed upstairs, and then sat his backside down on the sofa and watched a Christmas movie and cracked open a beer, telling the boy to sit where he was and enjoy it. He said, I'm busy, I've just got stuff to do, sorry about this. He then hung a wreath on the front door and left 2 hours later. Never caught by police, was caught on CCTV. Is that a load of nonsense? So we're talking about Rudolph getting his antlers chopped by a load of teenagers, or the nicest bad Santa ever.
Why does all this happen to me all
I
the
know,
time?
exactly,
Why do
I
I
know,
get
I-
this
I
stuff?
Here we go, give us your answer for a dramatic draw on WTF.
I don't think anybody could be in a house for 2 hours. I play the music, surely.
Yeah,
we do
no,
not
I
think
don't-
Mother might waken up.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. What do you reckon?
Got to go for it. I'm gonna have to ask for an answer.
Go on, it has to be the antlers.
Gone for the antler. You're going for the antlers being the true fact.
Yes.
So, poor Rudolph. If it's true, poor Rudolph.
Dreadful.
Yes.
If you got this wrong, Rob is going to be intolerable for the next week.
Yes.
The answer is that you are 100% wrong.
Yeah.
I win. I win.
Well, the good news is they all live to tell the tale, and you can see it. Google it at home, folks. It was one of the big stories that Christmas. There you go.
Exactly. There we go. That was the first ever WTF Christmas special. Thank you, Paul Martin. Thank you, Chris Hughes. Let's do something else. Right, time for some more live music, and Robb Murphy is with us. He's just written a song all about your memories of Christmas Eve. The new song is actually called Christmas Eve, and here he is live. Here's Robb Murphy.
I've never seen such snow, clouds that hang so low, steamy breath, icy toes, fingers numb, face aglow. We'll sleep lightly tonight under a trail of lights. Find your way back home to young years you've known. Say you do believe on this Christmas Eve. Open door 24. Memories drape the tree. Young and old, stories told. And when darkness falls tonight, we'll sing songs by candlelight. Find your way back home to younger years you've known. Say you do believe on this Christmas Eve. One more night, one more sleep. We wish for presents, but it's memories we keep. We all sing, bells will chime. We come together and unite at Christmas time. Find your way back home to younger years you've known. Say you do believe on this Christmas Eve. On this Christmas Eve.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, it is Panto time, and this time not a Panto for the kiddies. We're talking a Panto for the adults. Yes, Aladdin is playing at the waterfront at the moment, and I'm pleased to say that Gerard and Kathryn from the show join us now. Guys, welcome.
Hiya.
Hello, Robin. How are you?
I'm good. You're all very festive today, aren't you?
Yes, we got the memo.
Yes,
We got
Christmas
the
memo.
There's lots happening in the show that I would like to talk about, but because of the nature of the show, there's only so much we can talk about, isn't there? You're Widow Twanky, aren't you?
Widow Twanky, Aladdin's mum, and yeah, we're just trying to find the love of his life, which turns out to be Jasmine Dunbar.
Yes.
Adrian Dunbar's daughter from a Chinese in Leonardine. So yes, we put a big twist on the Aladdin fairy tale and bring it right up to date. Set it in Thunderland in West Belfast and Bangor. Some scenes,
Yes, Hollywood and Bangor.
And we just have a laugh with it. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's memories and harks back to traditional Panto, but just for over 18s. So Joke with a jive.
Yeah, and it just gives you guys, Kathryn, does it, the chance just to go mad and say whatever comes into your head. That's what it sounds like, isn't it?
Well, yes, it probably does. Some nights it does. Gerard's a bad one for that, aren't you?
No.
You say things that are not in the script to catch us off guard.
That's just as director as well, Rob, and I just do that to keep them on their toes.
Of course.
And
It's
it's all
all
part of
scripted.
it. Yeah.
Sean and Diona would think it was terrible. If we went off script, that would be terrible. So Sean and Diona, if you're watching, we never go off script. It's the same script every night.
Yes, okay. And what about big songs? Because we know you for your big songs, don't we?
Yeah, we've got some great songs in there actually, and I think it'll really appeal to an adult audience. And we've tried to use songs that are modern, but we've also got some classics that you would love from the 90s and the 80s, haven't we?
We get all the audience up on their feet. They love the tracks. We change a few words here and there.
Yes,
to make them a wee bit more adult.
Yeah.
And we've got a wee Disney song as well, so
We put in,
we'll
yes,
get
a
a wee
whole
bit
new
of
word.
actual Aladdin in there. We don't really stick to the Aladdin story, but that is one bit which is sort of like Aladdin the movie.
Now, who else is in the show? Julian's in the show, isn't he?
Yes, Julian Simmons plays
Our
the genie.
Our genie Julian, he's brilliant.
Genie Julian, which is a bit of a tongue twister sometimes on stage. We've got Terence Keeley as well, he plays Aladdin, and Matthew Cavan, he plays Jafar, and he plays Slave of the Ring.
With his alter ego, Cherry on Top.
Cherry on Top, of
is
course.
the Slave of the Ring, and then Matt Cavan plays.
And the great thing about Matt is he's got the most outstanding voice, hasn't he?
He does.
We all do, not just sitting here right in front of you, Ron.
You've had a busy year, both performing and directing. I got to say, one of my theatre highlights of the year had to be Stones in His Pockets.
Thank you very much.
I mean, what you guys did with it. I mean, what a cast. Matthew directing as well, fabulous job. But breathing new life into that show, it was amazing.
Yeah, hopefully one of the pinnacles of my career. I've been wanting to do it for 20 years, and finally I got the chance to showcase and say, I can do this, and hopefully, fingers crossed, there's word coming, we'll be doing a tour of it next year, so
brilliant.
Hopefully the regions, I'll get to see it as well, we'll go on a tour around Northern Ireland and UK, so
brilliant.
Fingers crossed.
Kathryn, last time I saw you was in Bridesmaids, which was hilarious.
That's right, which he also directed.
Yes.
It seems like I'm the only one
Are you
working.
the only person working this year?
Well, after 2 years off because of COVID, of
Yeah.
course, it's great, everything's sort of piled up, and everything was happening near the same time, so there's loads of stuff out there, and we would just say to audiences out there, please go and support the arts, because we need more people to come buy tickets. It's a great gift as well for Christmas.
It is, exactly.
And you know, you make a real night of it. It becomes an experience.
Yeah, and I think now, out of all the years, we're producing better theatre now in Northern Ireland than we've ever done before. I think the bar has been lifted, hasn't it?
Well, that's because I'm directing now.
No, and we really involve the audience as well. It is like a panto in that way, that we really play to the audience. So you are part of our show.
Yeah.
And we bring you on board with the whole story as well. So it's not like just sitting back and watching a piece of theatre. You actually feel like you're involved in the performance as well.
Brilliant. So Aladdin runs at the waterfront until when?
The 30th of December.
Guys, the best of luck with the run.
Thank
and
you.
have yourselves a great Christmas.
You too.
See you soon.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Robin. Thanks.
Right, still to come, we'll have some more live music from our special Christmas Dome with Shock Treatment are waiting in the wings, and we'll have them on very shortly. But before that, we're going to talk about the pressures of Christmas Day, and in fact the pressures of cooking the big Christmas dinner if you've got plenty of guests coming around to join you. I'm pleased to say Miquita Oliver joins us now on the line. So let's talk about Christmas pressures then. Why do you think there is so much pressure on us in the run-up to Christmas then?
Well, I wonder if it did start with social media. Well, I think it's older than that, which is kind of crazy, isn't it? It feels like pressure began with social media in every part of our lives. But I think Christmas has always had this element to it. And I think when we went through what we went through in the last few years, it was like we didn't have a chance for perfection. Like perfection went out the window. It was like, it'd be nice to touch my nan's hand. That'd be nice. And so I think now we have this beautiful time of being able to be together again. We must embrace the chaos and the mess of our lives, because we've all been through a lot. It's really nice to feel that we can let that pressure be taken off us and be quite satisfied with so much less now. You know, for me, it's just like a good bottle of wine with my grandma, sitting next to her and being able to be tactile with her. I'm good. And I think that for me, those moments now become really kind of beautiful moments, whereas before I would have wanted more perfection. Actually asked my mum, I used to be very like that. I know the lights have to look like this and the tree must be like this, mum, but we've over the years really embraced just being together, so taking away all that need for perfection and all that pressure and coming back to the stuff that really touches your heart and the stuff that really is so important, which is just honestly that we're all here and we're healthy and we're alive and it's Christmas.
So what's happening in your house on Christmas Day?
We have a lot of people this Christmas, and again, I think that's because we couldn't before. We haven't been able to for so long. And I think a lot of families will be doing that. I think a lot of the perceived perfections of Christmas will go out the window, and people will just be exhilarated to be next to each other and share a good bit of wine,
So if your mum is looking after the cooking then, is it down to you to sort out the wine?
Yeah, it is actually. Thanks for noticing that. It actually is up to me, the wine. And what we like to, we have sort of like the, we like to call it, we kind of have like the batch of wine that's like the wine for everyone to have and not feel like they're, wasting any wine. It's like, no, this wine's all here. Anyone can have it. Enjoy. It's for everyone. I don't like when people have like wine that's just for the Friday and, oh, that wine's on the side. It's like, no. We just have Cambodia all Christmas and then we're happy.
And what about to start the day? Do you start the day with some champagne?
I'm not very bubbly. I actually would have a lot of tea throughout the day, and then as soon as the sun goes down, I'm ready for wine. Is that all right? I think it is all right at Christmas. I think that's when you get a bit cozy. Start by 4. So by 4, the wine, and of course, mulled wine is so nice when it isn't kind of nighttime. I think that's a really nice afternoon way to have your wine. And we're quite a mulling family. My mum really likes to mull. She really does. Makes her happy. Should see the look on her face when she's mulling.
So let's talk about wine with your Christmas dinner then. What do you recommend?
Absolutely wine with dinner. I think you probably would. I think you start with the nicest wine for dinner, because then when everyone's had a bit more, then you can bring out something that's slightly less special. So we probably start with like a Grand Reserva and something that feels a little bit more, well, kind of grand in that moment, because everyone's got their Christmas clothes on, and it's kind of like the opening of the Christmas indulgence. And you want to start with a nice wine for that. And then later on, I'd start opening the other bottles. But definitely the good wine as you sit down to eat, for sure.
Well, it sounds like your house is the place to be on Christmas Day.
I don't want to lie to you, Robin, it is. And it always has been.
So what about the perfect time then to serve Christmas dinner? When should it happen?
Well, one year, and this is what I mean. We're all over the place at Christmas. So that's why I mean, you can't have rules, because then things like this wouldn't happen. My mother's lunch was late to the point where it was actually Boxing Day, because it was like half midnight on Christmas Day.
Excuse me. I know I'm not meant to be in this, but it wasn't past midnight. It was 11:45, which is technically still Christmas.
But I would say that's a little late. That was a little late for me. That was a little late. I'd say 7 o'clock.
Well, I can hear her in the background there. Bring her into the shot so she can defend herself then.
The dinner was served at 11:45, which is technically still Christmas Day.
But
A little late. It was a little late, I will grant it. It's not like there was no other food in the house, okay? There was smoked salmon, there was ham, there was all sorts of little...
But Robin's talking about, like, when should it be
It was
served?
a very little cooker, and I had 15 people to cook for. I had to do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Forever.
We had the most danky old cooker. I can't believe you even got food out.
I mean, the fact that I got it out at all was miraculous. They've been talking about this for 20 years, by the way.
Yeah.
They're still having a go at me about it. And last year, what happened last year?
Oh my God, I think we ate 5.
No,
Oh.
I had Christmas lunch ready by 1:30, 1:45 in the afternoon, and they weren't ready because it's never happened before.
Yeah, we were like, no, it's happening. Not ready to eat. Yeah, what are you talking about?
I said lunch is ready. They went, what?
Yeah.
Nobody could
She's
believe it.
really worked on that.
So Andi, tell me about the barbecuing then. What's happening then?
I was just like, what can I do? Because they're all very intent on me making a turkey, and I've been making goose for years, because I love roast goose. I think it's really rich, and I like the dark meat. It's really lovely. But we've got 20 people coming this year.
Wow!
And so I'm making a whole array of meats. Actually, the turkey is one of them. And then I started reading some stuff about barbecuing a turkey, and then I've been working with Tom Kerridge. And I mentioned it to Tom, and he was like, but once you barbecue, you never go back. And I started researching it, and I've been talking to my friends, the Hang Fire Barbecue Girls. I've been talking to all this rednecks. I've been watching funny rednecks on YouTube at 7 in the morning. I've been watching like really funny people. And so I'm going for a double brine I am going to wet tea brine it, which is something I came up with last year, tea brine. It's something that makes the flesh really, really juicy. So I'm going to tea brine it, then I'm going to dry it off, then I'm going to dry brine it. And then it's going on the barbecue like late Christmas Eve over the embers. It's going to be roasted really slowly barbecued, probably for about 8 hours with the smoker down. With apple wood and cherry wood and some juniper, some bay leaf, and some peppercorns. And I'm quite excited. And then I'm going to finish it with a kind of maple butter. So at the end, I'll start basting it with the maple butter, just not just for colour, but also just to get that flavour going at the very end as well. So I'm very excited.
I'm actually quite excited, and I'm not going to be there. Well, this has got to be the most helpful and most useful interview that I've actually done this year.
And then the day after Boxing Day,
make the broth.
and then you make your broth, you see. So you've got all that turkey carcass, and by this time you're a bit sick of turkey. It's like, and also, please don't talk to me about turkey curry. It's not a thing. Don't do it. It's gross. So take the turkey and then get that into the pot. Any leftover vegetables, onions, bits of carrot, celery, whatever you've got
And that
going
broth
on.
you still have, that's still made of like wine and a little bit some spices, but something that kind of replenishes you and brings you back to life a little bit.
But yes, you know what I mean? You want to start feeling like sort of heartened, but not too heavy. So you make a really lovely broth. Just simmer that down for ages. You know, taking off anything that rises to the top, and then take out, you can strain it off basically, and then you're left with a really good heartening clear broth. You can roast off some new chicken, some new vegetables, put that in the bottom of the pan with some garlicky greens, and then spoon the broth over the top, and you've got something really gorgeous and cleansing, getting you ready for New Year's Eve.
Yeah. Are you ready for the next one?
I got one more question for you. Is there any room around your table this Christmas Day?
Do you know what the answer to that is? Always. Always room
If
around
you
the
ever want to
table.
be a waif and stray, just let us know.
Come to our Waste and Strays business. We'll give you mulled wine and a moist maker. You'll be very happy.
I'm there already. Andi and Miquita, it's been lovely talking to you. Have yourselves a very Merry Christmas, and thank you for joining us on the show. Thank you.
Merry Christmas to you too, love.
Lovely to meet you.
Bye, Mama.
Bye.
Right, still to come, as promised, some live music from our Christmas Dome from Shock Treatment. We're going to find out what they're getting up to as well. But before all that, we're going to be chatting to Neil Johnson from the Northern Ireland Chest, Heart and Stroke charity. Before we do that, here's a little video about what they're getting up to in time for Christmas this year.
At Northern Ireland Chest, Heart and Stroke, we know that sometimes it can be tough to do the little things once you've had a chest, heart or stroke illness. But we're here to help you do more of the little things once again. Help us to support families living with chest, heart and stroke illnesses and show that life can be full of the little things they love again. Please donate today. Text LITTLE to 70450 to donate £5.
Hi, my name is Bosco McShane, and at age 44 I had a stroke back in 2019. I'm a father of 7 and live in Coal Island, County Tyrone. So on the day that I had my stroke, just felt very, very unwell. So unwell that I knew I needed to get to a hospital as quick as I could. So we arrived to Craigavon Area Hospital, and then they identified that I was taking a stroke, and the blue lighted me on to the Royal, where I was for possibly maybe 4 to 5 weeks. You're sort of just starting all over again. Probably after the stroke I was so fatigued, so tired, had no energy. Memory loss still even to this day would be hit and miss as well. When I was released from hospital, it was very close to Christmas, and just the fatigue at that time when getting released, and you know the noise of toys and children and some of the lights of the Christmas trees would actually been quite sore in the eyes after having the stroke. So it was quite difficult at that time, and sort of just learning to live with what had actually happened to you. I sort of felt lost until I got word then that a call from Chest, Heart and Stroke, who were probably the lifeline in my journey to recovery. So when Chest, Heart and Stroke contacted me, I was definitely struggling at the time, and only by meeting other people who had experienced the same and the great experience of Chest, Heart and Stroke, they had helped me on the journey to recovery. Such as small things as the fatigue. Thought I was never going to get over it, but by doing some of the programs that they had asked you to do to help you with memory loss and just to get back into normal day life again was absolutely invaluable at the time. So chest, heart and stroke is invaluable to people of Northern Ireland, and I know firsthand of the experience and the generosity of them that I experienced. So I would encourage everybody, if they possibly could at this time of the year, to be as generous as they could to chest, heart and stroke.
I started off in January, and Neil mentioned it there earlier, a minor stroke, or as they call it in the trade, a TIA, which is a trans-ischemic attack. So yeah, it's a minor stroke, and I live on my own, and I was just sitting watching television, and all this, and I was on the phone to someone, and I noticed I was losing the words, and I couldn't complete a sentence, and I was finding it difficult. And I ended the conversation. But then I tried to look at the mobile phone, and I couldn't make out any of the messages. They became, not that I just couldn't see the words. And so next day, a friend of mine, she phoned the doctors, and basically they rang me and said get straight to hospital, which I did. And I've suffered a couple more in the last 6 weeks, getting progressively worse.
And the scary thing for somebody like yourself is the fact that Chris lives at home by himself. So with things like, how do people cope with that if they suddenly realise they're taking a stroke at home?
Well, it's difficult, but in most cases, hopefully there'll be somebody else there who'll be able to ring for help and get the person to hospital as quickly as possible. Is the first.
It's all about timing, isn't it?
It's all about timing. It's not, it's just get there quickly, get the scans done, and then in many cases, my father actually had a TI recently. Checked him out, said he was fine, sent him home, and then they get you back the next day to do a proper sort of TIA clinic. And again, that is one of the, but it impacts in such strange little ways because my father lives in the middle of nowhere, can't drive for a month. So it's just all those little things that just impact,
Yes, yeah.
And thankfully he's fitting well, and Chris seems to be reasonably fitting well. So it's not, like I say again, strokes are not necessarily the devastating thing. They can be the small TIA, but it can just have a huge impact on your life.
And I suppose if you catch it early enough, if you had went to maybe have a health check before, you may be able to do something to prevent it.
It's quite possible, yeah. It's just something you never think of, and when you're in hospital, you realise, when you're younger, Robin, like what you and I are. Anyways, you always associated people having strokes being elderly, and to find what kind of alarmed me this time round. When I was there in January, the age group was 60 plus as a rule, maybe 50s. And when I was there again in October, I noticed that a lot of younger people, and obviously this video you've just shown of Bosco illuminates the fact that, it does happen. I spoke to one of the consultants, and she said to me, I said, is there kind of demographic changing? And she said, we are seeing a lot of younger people.
Well, it's danger from alcohol abuse, but it's all the obvious things, don't smoke, exercise more, lose weight, all the standard sort of healthy living things that we know, but it's just finding the time to do them. Everybody knows the messages, but it's just finding the time to work in exercise into your day, cut down on the alcohol, and just be conscious of that. It's very easy to fall into the trap of having a drink every day, and all of that adds up, and then if maybe you're out on a Friday or Saturday night, you're way over what the regulation, the recommended 14 units in a week, So all those things you just need to bear in mind. But I say, even when you're doing all those things right, you could still have high blood pressure and not be aware of it, or still have atrial fibrillation. Or, that atrial fibrillation is just really a very common heart arrhythmia problem that increases, chances of it increase with age. But it can be there in the background. You maybe not even notice it, but it increases your risk of stroke by 5 times. So if you identify it and be put on blood thinners, risk has been massively reduced, and no inconvenience or anything to your lifestyle. You know.
Just coming back to the work you guys do at Northern Ireland Chest, Heart and Stroke, it is worth pointing out just once again that all the money you raise comes from the public.
No, absolutely, and thank you, Robin, for giving us this opportunity to plug our Christmas campaign, essentially, because it is entirely down to the people of Northern Ireland, and to say we do get some very generous legacy and other big donations, but it is from rattling buckets and people doing sponsored runs and things like that, and you know, I'm always amazed at people doing, you know, small local events raising gobsmacking amounts of money. I mean, I just feel if I tried to do it, I'd maybe raise a few £100. And people seem to be able to bring in 5, 10, 15,000 from just a little local event. And without those people, we wouldn't have the people doing the health checks. We wouldn't have the people being out caring for the people who suffered a stroke or have a respiratory problem.
Well, there are lots of ways to donate, and they are appearing on our TV screens right now, telling people how they can give towards Northern Ireland Chest, Heart and Stroke. I know you guys have got lots of stuff planned for next year as well, so we'll invite you back into January and you can tell us what's coming up next year. But in the meantime, Chris and Neil, thank you for coming in and joining us today. Thank you. So that's nearly all we have time for on our Christmas show this year. I did promise you some live music from the Dome. Shock Treatment are standing by, and you can see them back in Belfast on the 14th of January. They're going to be at the Empire supporting the fabulous The Adventures. So to play us out with a festive song and one of their own as well, here are Shock Treatment. Have yourselves a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.